Question: how do you feel about secret societies, Freemasons, and such? I don't see any reason why anyone should be involved with them, but I feel the same way about fraternities and sororities, and not for spiritual reasons. I had a great friend. He loved the Lord, godly guy. He lived into his 80s, passed away. He was a Mason. At his funeral, they had some Masonic stuff, like some of the guys were wearing the aprons and they read from the Mason. I hadn't done a deep dive. What I was listening to, I was like, yeah, I don't know how godly this is, but nothing jumped out at me as like, this is evil. But at the same time, I know that evil doesn't always come right out and say this is evil. So I think secret societies, you should ask yourself, why are they secret? What benefit are they promising? What are they basing their teachings on? And how transparent are they with their members? And if they aren't very clear and very transparent and very open for their members, why would you join it? Like that'd be my question. Why would you want to join a secret society? I don't have, like I said, I haven't done a huge dive on it, and some people have, and go check out their stuff. So, whoa, Gregory, are you able to put up questions from your phone? If so, that's awesome. I'm going to take this question that you just put up there. Adrian Harriger, do you believe that someone has to accept or believe every part of every book in the Bible in order to be a Christian, or could a Christian reject certain books or sections? This is a good question. For the first centuries of the church, Christians didn't accept every book of the New Testament. The canon was not finalized for at least a generation or two, maybe more. So hypothetically, theoretically, could someone who wasn't convinced of the canonicity of a book still follow Jesus and love Jesus? Absolutely. I don't think our salvation hinges on accepting this list versus this list when it comes to the canon. That being said, if someone after the canon has been completed and compiled rejects a certain book, my question would be why? When the testimony of the church, at least, I mean, I can understand, let's say the Apocrypha or the Deuterocanonical, okay, but the canonical books, those are across the board recognized, the New Testament books, by every Christian denomination, and the Old Testament books recognized by Jews and Christians. So if you were going to reject a book that the church or the church and Judaism has said these are the scriptures, you're on thin ice. That's a very spiritually dangerous attitude to take. Because it puts you above the collected testimony of God's people. And I think you got to have a really, really solid reason for that. And it can't be based on a Google search or a little cult group somewhere that has some teaching, or you just think that, so I would say theoretically, is it possible? Yes. Practically, is it likely? If somebody's rejecting a New Testament book, I'm very skeptical about the genuineness of their faith unless they are a super new Christian and they are learning. Otherwise, my false teacher radar starts going off. So possible. Yeah. Is it likely? I don't think so. That's my opinion. All right, man, Gregory, I love it. You're hearing me, so you're throwing these questions up. Let's see. David Lopez asks, how do we date Bible books to specific years or in general? Also, which books' interpretations are most changed by the date? This is a super broad question because you're asking about individual books, and there are 66 of them minimum. How do you date Bible books to specific years? Sometimes the books tell you, in the year of so-and-so, this happened. That's very rare. Other books you would date by tradition. I'll give you an example. Some scholars think that the Gospels are all dated late. like the Gospel of Luke was written, 2nd century or something. But the question you'd have to ask is, okay, Luke wrote Luke and Acts. And the book of Acts, Luke had to have been written before the book of Acts, because Acts is the sequel. And Acts follows the events leading up to Paul's imprisonment in Rome, and it ends there. It has an open ending. If Acts is the main character if Paul is the main character of the book of Acts, and Acts ends with Paul still alive in Rome, being visited in house arrest. If Paul were dead, the author of Acts, it's almost inconceivable that the author of Acts would not write about all of Paul's life, that they would end the book in the middle of it'd be like somebody today writing about George Washington and ending the book with him still being alive. No, it would be you would need to finish the story. And if it had already happened, it would be crazy that there wouldn't be an acknowledgement. And so people have said, so Acts almost certainly was written before Paul had died, while he was still in prison. So they would say, so therefore you can date it to before, I don't know, like the 60s, mid 60s AD. So therefore the gospel had to have been written before that. And so you that's just one example. And I know there are scholars out there who would disagree vehemently, and I'm not a New Testament scholar, so I'll let them fight over that. But that's just where I land, is there are things that you have to look at. What is the setting? What are the clues? And how specific can we get to dating these things? But we can't always be certain. And especially in Old Testament books, there's books like Joel. We don't know when Joel was written. It could fit anywhere within the minor prophets. Some people think it's pre-exilic. Some people think it's post-exilic. Book of Daniel. Some people argue Daniel wrote it. Some people argue, no, it was Daniel passed on these visions, and then only centuries later did they get written down. But then other people argue, no, the things Daniel described perfectly what happened in history, so they had to have been written after those things. Well, that implies that prophets can't actually prophesy. So a lot of it hinges on your theological foundations, your outlook on hermeneutics, what you think is possible. People say the Gospels couldn't have been written before the fall of Jerusalem because Jesus describes the fall of Jerusalem too perfectly in the Olivet Discourse. My response is, yeah, because the Son of God can do that. So that's no reason to date the Gospels to, long after the fall of Jerusalem. So anyway, long answer, winding answer. Are there books which interpretation is changed by how you date it? Sort of. Daniel would be an example. If Daniel's dated one way, then it seems like the 4 kingdoms he's describing would be, let's see if I can do this from memory. Babylon, Media, Persia, and then Greece. And that leads Antiochus to be the big bad guy. If it's dated another way, the empires he's describing are Babylon, the Medo-Persian Empire, together, Greece, and then Rome. So Rome would be the big bad guy. So there are some books that, yeah, depending on how you date it, you're going to read it slightly differently. But that is really getting at the sort of the minute details. All right, let's see. A few more. Oh, all right. Rashard asks, what's up, Rashard? Good to have you. What is a good study method to understanding idioms and figures of speech in Old Testament and New Testament scriptures? There, I was going to reach, so right here behind Wonder Woman is a book by E.W. Bullinger, and it's called Figures of Speech Used in the Bible. It's helpful because it classifies a lot of the figures of speech, Old Testament and New Testament. It's maybe not as helpful because E.W. Bullinger had some really weird theology. His eschatology, he was a hyper dispensationalist, is what they're called, and believed that the kingdom of God didn't happen until the New Testament doesn't begin until well into the book of Acts. So there's just user beware. Plus, it was written a long time ago. But that would be one place to go to look up specific idioms. The best way, though, would be when you're reading a passage and you suspect, I wonder if this is a figure of speech, to find the original word that's used. And this is where you have to use Step Bible, Blue Letter Bible, something that gives you access to what the original words are, and then to do a search to see, is this exact wording used elsewhere, or super close to it? Because that's the way idioms work. Idioms work, figures of speech work because they are figures of speech. It's not what you're trying to say, it's how you're saying it. And so to say something is a figure of speech, you would have to show other examples of where people are saying that thing in that way. And it's not always a slam dunk. So, and this is what biblical scholars do. I mean, a lot of papers at SBL or ETS or any of these, they're trying to make a case that this is a figure of speech. Like I would suggest in Revelation, there's a phrase, the ones dwelling on the earth. That's a phrase that's found in Revelation. And it's, when you look at how it's used, I think, and I'm not a New Testament scholar, so I can't say this is, but I have a feeling that that is a figure of speech. The ones dwelling on the earth doesn't mean people who just live on earth. I think it specifically is denoting those who are not following the land. It's the counterpart to those who dwell in heaven, which is describing followers of Jesus. And so you will see, and the reason I think might be a figure of speech or something close to is because when I read, like when I was reading Enoch, that phrase appears a lot, and Enoch is another apocalypse, and judgments and things that happen to the ones dwelling on the earth or the earth dwellers. I feel like that's probably a figure of speech, and it probably doesn't mean every person living on land. It probably means people who are not following God within that genre. But I haven't done the work to demonstrate that. And that's what you would have to do. You'd have to demonstrate it by showing it being used in other contexts with the same understanding, with the same meaning. And that's what journal articles are for. So if you ever wonder about something as a figure of speech, do a search in an online search for journal articles about a particular verse or a particular phrase, and see if somebody else has come across it, because there are hundreds of thousands of biblical scholars that have done millions of pages of dissertations and analyzed the text down to the nuts and bolts. And if something's, it's very likely that somebody else has probably said, yeah, I think this is a figure of speech. So, all right. What else do we have? Good question, Rashard. And also, I think you asked, Rashard, you might have been who asked about, it might not have been you, I might be confusing, but a previous live stream asked about resources, and I mentioned How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth and Grasping God's Word. How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth would be a good place to I think there's a section on figures of speech in How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. I'm not 100% certain, but I think there is, if memory serves me. So that's what I would recommend. Gregory, are you still there on your phone? A few more questions. Natasha asks, what is a good note-taking system for studying the Bible? I don't know. I write notes in the margins of my Bible, so I don't take handwritten notes very often. Yeah, I don't think I would have a good system because it depends on how do you learn? How do you recall? Are you better if you type out a note and have it in a document? Are you better to have something handwritten in a separate book? I drove people crazy in college because in class I would sit like I took an anthropology class my first summer at Georgia, and sat next to a girl, and she would take so many notes. And I would just sit and listen. I was an art major, so my margins of my notebook were filled with sketches and doodles and drawings. And the actual notes were almost non-existent, but I was listening. Like I just zone out while I would draw. And And so for me, I would just listen and take it in and could remember the stuff. And it was just an easier subject because was more familiar with what we were going over. But she was struggling. And she would look at me and just be like, how do you not take notes? And I was like, I just listen. But it's just because we had two different types of learning, two different ways of learning. So it totally depends on somebody's learning style. And I can't pretend to give I think you should take notes the way you best learn. So if dates are hard for you, I think you should write down dates and anchor them with something like this, not just a date that this random event happened, but try to build out a timeline. Like that's why we have like our Disciple Dojo mug also available in our store where our Disciple Dojo shirts are. This is an Old Testament timeline that lays out the Old Testament. This is also available for download on the website, or you can just email me and I'll send you a PDF if you just want the digital. But this is a way of visualizing, because I'm a visual learner and a visual processor, visualizing the Old Testament timeline. So then I can plug things in a way that makes sense to me. But some people don't work that way. They would need maybe a list or an Excel sheet or a narrative or something like that. So great question. I don't have a good system that I would suggest one size fits all. Colton Honeycutt, JM, you ever take classes in, I believe that is Northwestern Semitic inscriptions or something similar? I'm studying through some of that, just curious. I have not taken classes specifically in those inscriptions. I have taken classes when I was at Gordon Conwell. Our Old Testament professors were phenomenal with ancient Near East parallel. So one of my professors I had him for multiple classes was Jeff Niehaus. Jeff Niehaus has done a ton of work on Northwest Semitic inscriptions, on Canaanite, the Baal epics, the Assyrian and Babylonian accounts. There are I'm trying to think of others whose work I've read. So I haven't done a class on those inscriptions, but I have read my shelf, this shelf behind me. A lot of this is ancient Near East, and right above it are more volumes on ancient Near East inscriptions. And I use context of scripture that I have on accordance to read some of the originals. So yeah, I've studied it, but formally it was a long time ago. A couple of summers ago, I read through as many of the Ugaritic inscriptions and stories and things that I could find. And I thought I want to do a video at some point. I'm going to do a video on the Baal saga, like the Epic of Baal for Christians. Like, here's the story. Do you ever wonder what the Baal myth is? Let's walk through it. But I haven't quite gotten comfortable enough with it yet to feel like I could teach somebody through it. Gregory is back. What's up, brother?
This is on my cell phone. So man. I'm semi back at best. I just wanted to say good night to everyone and thanks for all the best wishes and all that stuff. Yeah. Gregory is not rest in peace yet. Electricity definitely is still rest in peace, but Gregory's still here.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up with that because we are at 2.5 hours. If you and Gregory, you can close it out when I sign off. You can end it, and it won't run all night. But yeah, guys, I want to thank those of you who tuned in. There are so many more questions that we can get to. Some of the questions tonight were long-winded. Do me a favor. I usually take this live stream, and probably over the next week or so, I'll take it and edit down specific questions into like standalone videos. I've been doing that in previous live streams. The view count, like I try to balance what do people want to see, what is like the metrics, like what are people clicking on. The Bible reviews are what everybody clicks on this channel. Like if I post a teaching on like Psalm 12 is the last one I did, it may get 500 views. But if I review the Case for Christ Study Bible, it gets 3,000 views. So I am in this position where I don't want to do this ministry based on just what's getting views, because that's what that's just chasing the algorithm. And I don't think has integrity. But I also can't ignore that, because that does determine, like where should I be putting the most energy? So all that to say, chopping up these and editing them into separate videos, creating a thumbnail, uploading all of it takes my time, and that's time that I can't be doing other stuff. So if you want to see that, more of that, let me know by watching those videos or sharing those videos or leaving comments on those videos. Hey, keep doing this. I appreciate this, because that's really what I base a lot of my decisions on YouTube on, is when people say I'm getting something from this, then that'll tell me, hey, put your energy into that, because people are getting something from it. Whereas if I don't get any feedback at all, good or bad, on something, then that's kind of subconsciously telling me, hey, don't spend your time doing that, because it's not worth it. So anyway, I'm just glazing through Q&As, videos. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I have to scan through these and see. There were. I'm waiting for a chunk of Psalm videos to watch them together. Don't do that. I appreciate it, but watch them when they come out. That is what helps on our end. I watch them whenever you're able. Especially, I think that was Renee, mom of two. Yeah, if you're a mom and you time is precious. But I always tell people, hey, you don't have to watch a video to click on it and let it play. Like if you want to help Disciple Dojo, click on videos and let them play while you're doing something else. I don't mind that. Okay, that's just a little. I really watch them and interact. But please keep live events coming. Eric Staley says that I love doing the live events, and I want to do them. I did the poll. Let me just let you guys know this. I did the poll on what days and times, because everybody's different. Overwhelmingly, like 2-1, it was Tuesday nights. So whenever Gregory is available and whenever I have a Tuesday night, live events will almost always be on a Tuesday night, unless it's some special thing, and then I'll let you know in advance. But that was the overwhelming response from the people that responded. Love the quick Q&A videos. Great. I appreciate that, Robert. I'll keep editing those and putting them up as content. Guys, I appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up. Gregory, thank you so much. You are the tech black belt. If you didn't see Gregory's episode, he and I did a whole discussion on Christians and AI. That was a fascinating discussion. That was the first time I had Gregory on Disciple Dojo. Watch that video. That was a fun video, and you get to see a lot more of Gregory's personality and what he's doing and his passion and how he's merging AI with biblical studies. I'm going to post this week of something from our last Q&A, probably this week, maybe later next week, where Gregory and I talked about he has developed an app that uses AI to help you take notes. Who asked about the notes? Whoever asked me about notes just now, and I just said I don't have a good system. I don't, but I have a good tool. And the tool is developed by Gregory. He wrote it. It's his thing, and it's called ActiScribe. And it is a note-taking app that then gives you in whatever format. I'll watch that video if you missed it, but go to ActiScribe, A-C-T-A Scribe, S-C-R-I-B-E. ActiScribe is the name of his app. He developed it. It's awesome. It is really good, and I'm actually using it with some of my old podcasts to get the notes from them to then possibly turn into a curriculum. So it's all in the background. Check it out. Check out Gregory's channel, Bible Hacking. Subscribe if you haven't already. Gregory, I love you, brother. I appreciate you. Guys, I love each and every one of you for tuning in. I mean, I love you in general, but I especially love that you tuned in and spent a Tuesday night with us. But yeah, don't forget, who said it, Rashard? Don't forget to like this video, y'all. Yes. For those of you who don't know, likes, commenting, and sharing things are incredibly important. I didn't know how important they were until I started a YouTube channel, but they really are the lifeblood. So anything it doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe, enable notifications, like a video. I mean, every time I watch a video and I appreciate it, I just hit like, because it's like tipping the video maker without actually giving money. So I really, really, really appreciate all of that. David Rogers just mentioned Grown Ups Table promotion. David, I'm so glad you said something about that. We have members here. If you are a Christian and you are unmarried, you're divorced, you're widowed, or you're just like me and you've never met your person, we have a community. It is nationwide. It's actually worldwide because we have people all over the world, but particularly nationwide. It's on Facebook. It's done through Facebook. It is a group on Facebook. It's called the Grown Ups Table. Facebook.com/ all one word group / all one word Grown Ups Table. It is a network, a ministry for single Christians. Single again, whether you're looking to date, it's not a matchmaking thing, although we've had 3 marriages, 3 weddings coming about from it, which is awesome. But it is a community for single Christians to connect with each other, especially those who don't have the community that they crave, and they're not getting it either through their local church or wherever they are. Look at the Grown Ups Table. We'd love for you to join if that's you. If you're unmarried, there's no age limit. It's not a young adults ministry. It's not 20s and 30s, college and career. No, we've got members in their 20s. We've got members in their 80s. If you're not married and you just want community, come find us at the Grown Ups Table. It's on Facebook. We've got about 2,300 members, and we even have a map feature where you can see people that put their location. Like, hey, I'm in wherever, we have a lot here in Charlotte, but we have people in Alaska. We have people in Idaho. We've got people, just all over. So we'd love for you. It is a ministry of Disciple Dojo. And as a single adult myself, I'm very passionate about it. We do trips. We do retreats. J. Richard Middleton is coming on our retreat at the end of July to teach on the Psalms. We're going to have a weekend at the beach on St. Simon's Island, Georgia, at a retreat center. And the daily Bible studies are going to be led by a renowned biblical scholar. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. If you want to be a part of it, we'd love to have you. If you click join on the group, you have to have a Facebook account. You don't have to be active on Facebook. You can just create an account just to be part of the Grown Ups Table. But that's how we coordinate everything. We'd love to have you join. There's 3 questions you have to answer, and that's just to kind of weed out the bots. And then you have to agree to the group rules. And I wrote the rules very specifically, so you need to read the group rules because I'm an enforcer when it comes to the rules. But yeah, we'd love to have you. So David, thank you so much for mentioning that. Gregory put up the website, ActiScribe, right there, actiscribe.ai. Seriously, everybody on this stream, go check out that app. It is unbelievable what it can do. It really is. I've used it. It's awesome. Okay. I think that is it. We got to go. Guys, we'll do this again. Keep an eye on this channel for when the next one will be. It'll be after Gregory gets power back, obviously. So thank you all for watching. Gregory, my man, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you. And just, I'm glad to partner with you in this minute. Do you have power? It's back on. Oh, hallelujah. Okay, guys, never mind.
Literally
4 hours.
Literally just came back on when you were closing up.
Oh, well, I would say let's keep going, but actually my voice is getting a little sore. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much. We're going to call it for now. We'll do this again. Stay tuned. My tagline, as always, keep training.